By its definition, the fight over abortion is a woman's rights issue, but men can still be allies. Men for Choice is an advocacy group trying to help empower men to support women, especially when it comes to reproductive rights. With us now is Oren Jacobson. He is the co-founder of Men for Choice. Oren, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, Oren, to break this down, tell us more about your organization and explain why you think that men haven't really had more of a seat at the table on this issue.
Yeah, so our organization is actually fairly straightforward. We work to get men who support a person's right to choose off the sidelines and into the fight as active allies. When we think about why many men who say they're pro-choice but still are passive and silent on this issue are on the sidelines, as I said, we really think about several things. Number one, the average guy doesn't fully understand the harm that abortion bans and restrictions cause to people, to families, and communities. Number two, many men see this as simply a gendered or woman's issue, and by the way, also carry some stigma around abortion. Number three, most men don't see a natural entry point into this fight, a space that feels sort of right for them. And number four, they don't have a playbook. They don't know what to do and what to say. So even the guys who want to be allies are often reserved because they don't want to say or do the wrong thing. So at Men for Choice, we really focus on dealing with each of those individual elements as a way to move passively pro-choice men into active allies in this fight.
But still, I mean, there has to be an incentive here, right? I mean, you are urging men to stand up, have a voice in the debate after all. So what do they stand to benefit here? I mean, what would eliminating abortion access in the United States mean to men?
Yeah, for a long time, people have talked about what men stand to gain, but I actually want to talk about this through the other way, because I think guys inherently understand that if you have a child, that is a significant change to your life. And there are a lot of responsibilities that come with that that will fundamentally alter the way the average guy goes through their life. I want to talk, though, about what men have to lose, because this is really where men don't often connect the dots, but they need to. See, each of us deserves the right with our partners to make the best decisions for whether, if, when, and how to build or expand our family. And while I, as a man, shouldn't have the right to tell my wife what to do with her body, we certainly, within the context of a healthy relationship inside of our marriage, should be the only people who have a say at all into whether, if, when, and how we build and expand our family. And so I think it's really important for men to come to terms with this basic, simple fact. Your body may not be under attack by an abortion ban, but your freedom is inherently under attack. If the government has the right to control your partner's reproductive decisions, to control the way you build your family, then the government has the right to take away your freedoms as well.
Hey, Oren, what's your response to critics who say that this is just another instance of men trying to take a woman's voice away, right? It's always supposed to be this women's right to choose issue, and there are two sides to every coin. So how do the two sides come together to talk about this issue without women feeling threatened at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think it's a really important question, and actually goes to the heart of the way that we approach this work. Our motto is unconditional support. We're not here to be saviors, and we are not leaders in this movement. We are simply here to do two very basic things. Number one, to stand up and call out the men in this country who are using their power and their voices to attack the bodily autonomy and reproductive rights and access of women and people who can get pregnant across this country. And number two, to activate more of our peers to follow those most impacted in this fight. We are not here to be saviors. We are here to be partners. But I think at the core of the basic idea of allyship is the recognition that the burden of advocacy is always or almost always put on the backs of those most impacted, and that men have to carry some of that burden too. Just as white allies need to do work inside of white communities to deal with racial injustice, male allies have to do work amongst our peers to help in the fight for reproductive freedom and reproductive justice.
It's so interesting when I listen to you talk about this, Oren, because you've brought up the government, you've brought up family planning. And some might argue that this doesn't just impact a woman or a man, but it also impacts all of society, right? So when you think about who belongs at the table, is the government also someone or an entity that should be at the table in this debate? Should we be talking more about family planning, childcare, preschool? What is your thought on that?
Yeah, so from my perspective, the only people who belong at the table on the question of whether, if, when, or how to have children are the people who are actually going to get pregnant and then take care of those children. And so from my perspective, that means within the context of a relationship, it's the people inside of that relationship only that should have a say in this discussion. I think the people that really are important to listen to are women, trans men, non-binary people who can get pregnant, right? Those who are most directly impacted, the people who actually have to carry a pregnancy to term, and are most often the ones we expect culturally to be the caretaker in raising children. But when you think about the government, the thing that I want to point out here is that there is a movement in this country that claims to label itself as being pro-life, when in fact, at every turn, they oppose the basic policies that are necessary to ensure each individual has access to what they need to live to their fullest. They're not supporting paid parental leave. They're not supporting ensuring that we have safe, healthy communities, that our kids all have access to safe schools. They're not ensuring everybody has access to full health care, including reproductive and prenatal health care. So really that whole moniker of being quote unquote pro-life is one of the greatest lies and myths placed upon the American people, because in fact, it's really just about forcing people to give birth and not actually providing those people with the access to the housing, the health care, basic income, nutrition, clean air, clean water, safe schools, clean communities to raise a child in. None of those policies, none of those issues are championed by the people who are working so hard to ban and criminalize abortion.
Yeah, these are all valid points. Oren, I got to let you go, but quickly, what has the reaction been so far to your organization, especially from men?
Well, I want to say in particular, the thing that heartens me most in the last several weeks is I think with people knowing that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned and this becoming real, which, by the way, it's been real for a long time. We just haven't been listening. I've seen a lot more men speaking out. We've seen a lot more interest in our programs and our fellowship program, which I think is going to double overnight. And so the reaction to our work has been mostly, thank you for being here. Please keep showing up and helping. And like I said, making sure that we do that in the right way as allies, not taking the microphone, but elevating the voices of those most impacted, and then doing the hard work of educating and organizing men to show up and fight as allies and as partners and followers for folks who are most directly impacted, for the women who are under attack, for the trans men, the non-binary folks who get pregnant, who are under attack, whose very freedom and dignity is being attacked. And so we're going to try to keep doing that and bring more men in to follow those folks.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique perspective and a different angle for sure. Co-founder of Men for Choice, Oren Jacobson, thank you so much for your time today. We do appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So to come on Newsy Live, security officials warning North Korea